Borley Rectory was a house located in Essex, England, famous for being described as the most haunted house in England by psychic researcher Harry Price. Built in 1862 to house the rector of the parish of Borley and his family, the house was badly damaged by fire in 1939 and later demolished in 1944. The large Gothic-style rectory had been rumoured to be haunted ever since it was built. These reports continued, and in 1929, after the Daily Mirror newspaper published an account of a visit by paranormal researcher Harry Price, who wrote 2 books supporting claims of paranormal activity. Price's reports prompted a formal study by the Society for Psychical Research, which rejected most of the sightings as either imagined or fabricated and cast doubt on Price's credibility. His claims are now generally discredited by ghost historians. However, neither the Society's report nor the more recent biography of Harry Price has subdued public interest in these stories, and new books and television documentaries continue to satiate public captivation with the rectory. A short program commissioned by the BBC about the alleged paranormal activity, scheduled to be broadcast in September of 1956, was cancelled owing to concerns about a possible legal action by Marianne Foyster, who was the widow of the last rector to live in Borley Rectory. In 1975, the BBC aired a program that focused on the house and conducted interviews with several psychic researchers, including Peter Underwood. It also featured a late-night psychic investigation of nearby Borley Church. Borley Rectory was constructed on Hall Road in the village of Borley, Essex, in 1862, near Borley Church. The house was built by the Reverend Henry Dawson Ellis Ball, who moved in a year after being named rector of the parish. The house replaced an earlier rectory on the site that had been destroyed by fire in 1841. It was eventually enlarged by the addition of a wing to house Ball's family of 14 children. The nearby church, the main hall of which may date from the 12th century, serves a scattered rural community of 3 hamlets that make up the parish. Legend claims that a Benedictine monastery was built in the area in about 1362, and that a monk from the monastery conducted a relationship with a nun from a nearby convent. After their affair was discovered, the monk was executed, and the nun reportedly bricked up alive in the convent walls. It was confirmed in 1938 that this story had no historical basis known, and could have been fabricated by the rector's children to romanticize the rectory. The story of the walling up of the nun may have come from Rider Haggard's novel Montezuma's Daughter or Walter Scott's epic poem Marmion. The first paranormal events at Borley Rectory reportedly occurred in about 1863. In July of 1900, 4 of Ball's daughters saw what they thought was the ghost of a nun at twilight, about 40 yards from the house. They said that they tried to talk to it, but it disappeared as they got closer. Local organist Ernest Ambrose later said that the Ball family were very convinced that they had seen an apparition on many occasions. Various people claimed to have witnessed a variety of baffling incidents, such as a phantom coach driven by 2 headless horsemen, during the next 4 decades. Ball died in 1892 and his son, the Reverend Henry Foyster Ball, took over the parish. Upon Henry Ball's death in June of 1927, Borley Rectory became unoccupied. In the following year, in October, the Reverend Guy Eric Smith and his wife moved into the house. Soon after moving in, Reverend Smith's wife, while cleaning out a cupboard, reportedly came across a brown paper package containing the skull of a young woman. The family also reported an array of incidents, including the sounds of servant bells ringing despite their being disconnected, lights appearing in windows and unexplained footsteps. Additionally, Reverend Smith's wife believed she saw a mysterious horse-drawn carriage at night. Reverend Smith contacted the Daily Mirror newspaper asking to be put in touch with the Society for Psychical Research. In June of 1929, the newspaper sent a reporter, who promptly wrote the first in a series of articles detailing the ghostly activity at the Borley Rectory. The paper also arranged for Harry Price to make his first visit to the house. When Harry arrived, almost immediately phenomena of a new kind appeared, such as the throwing of stones, a vase, and other objects. Spirit messages were tapped out from the frame of a mirror. However, as soon as Price left, these occurrences stopped. Reverend Smith's wife later maintained that she suspected Price of fabricating the phenomena. Reverend Smith left Borley Rectory in July of 1929, and the parish had some difficulty in finding a replacement. In October of 1930, the Reverend Lionel Algernon Foyster, a first cousin of the Balls, and his wife Marianne moved into the house along with their adopted daughter Adelaide. Foister wrote an account of various strange incidents that occurred between the time his family moved until October of 1935. These included bell ringing, windows shattering, the throwing of stones and bottles, wall writing, and the locking of Adelaide in a room with no key. Marianne reported to her husband a whole range of poltergeist phenomena that included her being thrown from her bed. On one occasion, Adelaide was attacked by an unseen force. Reverend Foister tried twice to conduct an exorcism, but his efforts were futile. Because of coverage of the case by the Daily Mirror, these incidents attracted the attention of several paranormal researchers, who after investigation were unanimous in suspecting that they were caused, consciously or unconsciously, by Marianne. She later said that she felt that some of the incidents were caused by her husband in concert with one of the psychic researchers, but other events appeared to her to be genuine paranormal activity. Marianne later admitted that she was having a sexual relationship with a lodger named Frank Pearless, and that she used paranormal explanations to cover up her liaisons. The Foister family later left Borley Rectory as a result of Reverend Foister's ill health. Borley Rectory remained uninhabited for quite some time after the Foisters' departure. In May of 1937, Harry Price took out a year-long rental agreement with Queen Anne's Bounty, the owners of the property. Through an advertisement printed in the Times in May of 1937, and subsequent personal interviews, he recruited a corps of 48 official observers, mostly students, who spent time, mainly during weekends, at the house with instructions to report any paranormal phenomena they encountered. In March of 1938, Helen Glanville, the daughter of S.J. Glanville, one of Harry Price's helpers, conducted a planchette séance in Streatham, London. Harry Price reported that she made contact with two spirits, the first of which was that of a young nun who identified herself as Marie Lair. According to the planchette story, Marie was a French nun who left her religious order and travelled to England to marry a member of the Waldegrave family. She was said to have been murdered in an older building on the site of Borley Rectory, and her body was either buried in the cellar or thrown into a disused well. The wall writings were alleged to be her pleas for help. One read, "Marianne, please help me get out." The second spirit to be contacted identified himself as Sunex Amours, and claimed that he would set fire to Borley Rectory at 9 o'clock that night. He also said that, at that time, the bones of a murdered person would be revealed. In February of 1939, the new owner of Borley Rectory, Captain W.H. Gregson, was unpacking boxes and accidentally knocked over an oil lamp in the hallway. The fire quickly spread, and the house was severely damaged. After investigating the cause of the blaze, the insurance company concluded that the fire seemed to have been started deliberately. In August of 1943, Price conducted a brief dig in the cellars of the ruined house and discovered two bones thought to be of a young woman. The bones were given a Christian burial in Liston churchyard, after the parish of Borley refused to allow the ceremony to take place on account of the local opinion that the bones found belonged to a pig. After Harry Price's death in 1948, the Daily Mail reporter Charles Sutton accused Harry of faking the paranormal phenomena. Sutton claimed that while visiting Borley Rectory with Price in 1929, he was hit on the head by a large pebble. Sutton stated that he seized Price and found his coat pockets filled with different-sized stones. In 1948, Eric Dingwall, K. M. Goldney and Trevor Hall, three members of the Society for Psychical Research, two of whom had been Harry Price's most loyal associates, investigated his claims about Borley Rectory. Their findings were published in a 1956 book, The Haunting of Borley Rectory, which concluded that Price had fraudulently produced some of the phenomena. The Borley Report, as the Society for Psychical Research study has become known, stated that many of the phenomena were either faked or due to natural causes, such as rats and the strange acoustics attributed to the odd shape of the house. In their conclusion, the three authors wrote, when analyzed, the evidence for haunting and poltergeist activity for each and every period appears to diminish in force and finally to vanish away. Terence Hines later wrote that Mrs. Marianne Foister, wife of the Reverend Lionel Foister who lived at the rectory from 1930 to 1935, was actively engaged in fraudulently creating haunted phenomena. Price himself salted the mine and faked several phenomena while he was at the rectory. Marianne Foister later admitted she had seen no apparitions and that the alleged ghostly noises were caused by the wind, friends she invited to the house, and in other cases by herself playing practical jokes on her husband. Many of the legends about Borley Rectory had also been invented. The children of the Reverend Harry Ball, who lived in the house before Reverend Lionel Foister, claimed to have seen nothing and were surprised they had been living in what many described as England's most haunted house. Robert Hastings was one of the few Society for Psychical Research members to defend Harry Price. Harry Price's literary executor, Paul Tabori, and Society for Psychical Research researcher Peter Underwood have also defended Price against accusations of fraud. A similar approach was taken by Ivan Banks in 1996. Michael Coleman, in a Society for Psychical Research report in 1997, wrote that Harry Price's defenders were unable to rebut the criticisms convincingly.